Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.
2 years in a row, they've increased the education portion of property taxes 16%. So that's going to be $200 or $300 on everybody in Medicine Hat's tax bill again this year after the province took more last year, before the city charges the extra that they charge. And I'd say, darn it, Danielle, the teachers were crying for more support in the classroom, more aides. Instead, you threw money at the problem, which now we're going to pay for it. So you've cost us billions and not solved the problem.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch, brought to you by Bernie Leahy, River Street Realty. Let's get you home. It has been 90 days since we last visited with Drew Barnes. The world has made, 90 rotations. It keeps spinning. And some of the news lately might have your head spinning. So, Drew, we have no shortage of things to talk about. Welcome back to the porch.
Oh, Brian, nice to be here. Thanks for talking to me again today.
I don't know where we want to start, but I think the one that landed hard in Medicine Hat was the airport and the fact that WestJet is no longer going to serve our community as of late June. And I know when you were here in previous visits, you talked about people getting off the plane, business people, to come here to Medicine Hat to scope us out. Now they can't even get here by plane.
Yeah, sad and more of the decline and the, the problems that we're having in Medicine Hat. Even though this is the best place to live in all of Alberta, all of Canada, because of government policy, because of our socialistic culture, we've been having trouble. Let's back up 20 or 30 years ago. Kelowna, another beautiful place, one of the reasons that it grew so dramatically and strongly was because it had an international airport. So I would say this, in every bit of bad news, there's lots of opportunity. There's lots of opportunity for people to provide a service, do quality, and make some money. During the mayoral campaign, I think 120 days ago now, one of the things I suggested is we should invite United or Delta or some American airline to fly in and out of here to Great Falls. If a Canadian airline cannot give us service, Medicine Hatters deserve that service and our town needs it. So let's start to look for it. But let's also have our governments and our city get out of the way. So if RXH or somebody local wants to provide a service, they have the opportunity to do that. In terms of regulation and cost, let's be safe, but let's make sure that somebody has the opportunity to do that. Again, it's a service that we need, and too often government gets in the way of making it happen. Brian, one of the real sad things about the trajectory that Medicine Hat and big government's been on, Peter Lougheed, a very, very respected premier, so 1976 or 78, had this great plan to connect all regional cities in Alberta outside of Calgary and Edmonton with strong airports. So here we are, 40 or 50 years later, and look how the government has failed at that. So it's time to get out of the way and let entrepreneurs step up.
Actually, I think I read recently how Southwest Airlines in the United States built themselves into the biggest airline by connecting little place. Instead of having people having to go to a big hub like a Calgary, people could get on a plane in their own community and just do those little short hops, but it just sort of went and grew exponentially. The opportunity is here.
The opportunity is here. Somebody just has to see the opportunity. Again, Medicine Hat, there's been a lot of news out recently that sounds like bad news, but in some ways it's good news. There was talk that we have the cheapest rents. I think it was second cheapest in all of Canada. There's talk that we have the lowest wages in Alberta. Those are opportunities for somebody to come in and start a business, places to get some good employees, places to house good employees. And something like Southwest, somebody come in and see the opportunity, make Medicine Hat a little hub for it. I think of Porter Air out of, Edmonton and Calgary the last while seems to be growing a bit. Anyway, hopefully an entrepreneur will see the opportunity, and hopefully the three levels of government will get out of the way.
When an entrepreneur is looking to locate or to set up some sort of a business, what's their checklist? What are they looking for?
Oh, there's many things. I would suggest quality of life is probably number one. And Brian, that's where Medicine Hat is such a leader. I mean, I've lived here since 1974. My wife Frances and I, and you know what a great place to live for. First of all, convenience to get around. I call it the Medicine Hat curse, but if you and I agree to meet for coffee at 2:00, you never get rewarded for coming early because it's so easy to get around. Everybody just shows up on time. And but, you know, for trails, for golf, you know, our Tigers, our Mavericks, our Esplanade, I was at the Medicine Hat Musical Theater last night for a great production of POTUS. And there's so much going on here. And, I think that has to be sold, that has to come out, and somebody has to do that. But so quality of life would be number one. Taxes and availability of labor would be number two. Again, I'm concerned that how much the city has raised taxes in the last little while. I'm concerned about our provincial budget from yesterday. 2 years in a row, they've increased the education portion of property taxes 16%. So that's going to be $200 or $300 on everybody in Medicine Hat's tax bill again this year after the province took more last year, before the city charges the extra that they charge. And I'd say, darn it, Danielle, the teachers were crying for more support in the classroom, more aides. Instead, you threw money at the problem, which now we're going to pay for it. So you've cost us billions and not solved the problem. That's bad governance. And anyway, so in addition to that, Medicine Hat, we've got affordable, reliable electricity. That's good for a lot of businesses. We're on the intersection of two major highways in Alberta, which is growing. That's another plus. We just have, and the confidence for an investor to come in here and put in some money is key. And to be honest, Brian, that's one of the reasons I'm so concerned about the city building and developing the solar farm themselves. That could cost hundreds of millions of our reserves and borrowing. I'm not against the solar farm in general, but let somebody with big, deep pockets do that, not me and you and other homeowners.
You touched on just about everything I have. I've been reading on my list here.
Well, I can look at it. I can see it. Yeah.
I was thinking of you when I was reading about the provincial budget and the $9.6 billion deficit, and I had visions of your heart going.
You visioned right.
Starting to read, because you have been the champion of fiscal responsibility since I think the first time you ran for public office. Yeah,
thank you for that. And it's important. If government is smaller, families and individuals are bigger, and that's what we have to be. And to be honest, Brian, I'm embarrassed. I stood beside Danielle Smith 2012 to 2014, where she hammered on fiscal responsibility, criticized the progressive conservative government at that time for going, I think it was $53 billion in debt. And then along comes Jason Kenney and the Rachel Notley and the NDP government. How often I heard him say, "Oh, you're putting Albertans $100 billion in debt. Shame on you," on and on. Now we have Danielle Smith putting us $130 billion in debt. And what's better? I mean, in spite of hardworking, great people in healthcare and education, we hear more and more about people that can't get into our health system. We hear more and more about our education slipping in terms of comparisons in the world standings. We're going $130 billion in debt, even though Premier Smith said exactly the opposite many, many times. Our kids and our grandkids are going to have to pay that off. And I believe you, like me, if there's problems, let me handle them. Don't leave them for my kids and grandkids.
Monty Stolberg once told me that $1 in my pocket would go farther than $1 in the pocket of government, and I've always remembered that.
Monty was absolutely right about that.
I'm wondering, too, though, the UCP had set up guardrails. They put legislation in to prevent exactly what happened in this new provincial budget from happening. What does that do to the credibility of a government in the eyes of the public?
Oh, it's disastrous. It's terrible. Brian, our whole system works on trust. You and I sign a contract, you do some work, I'm going to pay you, we make an agreement. We have a system where our governments print and borrow a lot of money. There's nothing backing that money anymore. So it's based on trust. As long as we trust each other, the system can continue. But when governments do things like this, especially conservative governments, where they set laws and they set parameters and then so easily disregard them, I mean, the average hardworking person, the hardworking family says, well, I can't trust them. So we're seeing it. There's a flight of capital to America, especially where 9 American states you don't pay any income tax. I don't know if you saw it, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. The Florida Congress voted to eliminate property taxes 80-30. Now, I presume there's more steps to make that happen, but that's the direction they're headed. And so here we are with the government who throws money at a problem, and it wasn't even what the educators asked for. It doesn't solve the problem. And now for $200 or $300 next year, that's 2 or 3 less times to a restaurant or something you want to do.
Takes the money out of the system.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know if you wanted to get into this or not, but we also hear now that we're going to have, I think, 9 different referendum questions in October. Some commentators are saying that it's just smoke and mirrors. They're trying to distract the public from what the real issues are.
I think it's good. The public's smart. They can't be distracted easily. And we need a democratic system where the public is more involved. So let's have referendum questions every year. And if Danielle felt the need to start with 11, okay, fine. Of course, the independence referendum question is there's a lot of people that want to talk about that. So no, I think all in all, let's get these referendums going. Let's get people back to being involved in our political system. Our recent municipal election, only 37% voted. Hey, I'll say shame on our city. At the advanced polls, it took people sometimes an hour to vote, and the word spread that the lineups were long, so that reduced the count. But I think Lethbridge only had 21% vote. In Australia, you get fined $200 if you don't vote, and they have almost 100% turnout. No, I'm not in favor of fining people. I think people should do their duty, but my goodness, we have to get people engaged. So if that means 3 or 5 or even 11 referendum questions every fall, let's do it. But we also have to hold our politicians accountable. Personally, I'm a believer in term limits. I was MLA for 11 years. It was 3 terms. That was enough, and that's what I would support. More than the recall and all the messiness of that. Yeah,
the career politician is one that I remember. Paul Harvey used to rail against. Mm-hmm. He used to say that the next election begins the morning after the last one ended.
He's absolutely right, and how sad is that? And so instead, let's get people that get in and get out and get things done. Let's look at the power that lobbyists have as well. We have to minimize that, and let's return the system to the people. And to me, that starts with smaller government, lower taxes, and the referendums can be part of that.
One of the things that made the headlines in recent weeks, too, was the little community of Olds getting a data center that is going to, I don't know how many hundreds of jobs that or 1,000, I think they talked about. But the other part that got me was people in Olds saying, we don't want this. Mm-hmm. They're afraid. So was the city of Medicine Hat going, over here. We've got what you need over here.
And did I see right? One of the people now working for the city of Olds used to work in Medicine Hat.
Oh.
So I wonder if there's some connection and possibility there. But I understand that this data center is going to use as much electricity as the whole city of Edmonton. Mm-hmm. A lot of data centers are just code word for cryptocurrency mining. So how much of that do we pay for? America's got a system that they're talking about where the crypto miners pay for their own electricity, and so they should. And of course we have had Haiti here that on the stock market has been very successful and just provide, I think, 40 jobs in Medicine Hat now. I believe that's the number. So there's some things that need to be worked out and need to happen. But again, I think Medicine Hat's one of our keys, other than the quality of life and the people here, is our reliable electricity. We can go to the province and maybe get more electricity generation capacity and use that to attract some business. Maybe let's look at some business, though, that provides jobs.
Did you watch the debate when the council approved unanimously to move forward with the first phase of the Sama Solar project?
I watched parts of it, yes.
And?
It's a mistake. They're taking, I think it was $65 million out of our reserves, money that instead could reduce our taxes today and in the future at a time our economy is not great. I believe they were borrowing $65 million, even through the province at a lower interest rate. We're still going to pay 3.5 on that. Everywhere you read about, one of two things is happening with solar farms: huge cost overruns, and then they're not efficient and they're being shut down. So I think it was simple. Now we're at the point where they've bought the license to generate electricity and put some investment in it. I think the best thing to do is to sell it to a big player, whether that's Brookfield or Suncor or whoever else. Sure, we're a major electric generator, and we do have to pay carbon tax to the feds because of that. But we could have got electricity agreements with whoever owns the solar or other renewables. There was other ways to do this that would have kept our flexibility and kept our money in the bank.
When I was watching that debate, what struck me was how we had conversions among some of the councillors who were not in favor of the project in the campaign, and now unanimously in favor of it. So to me, there's something underneath there that we have not yet heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. The talk was there's one buyer who might buy all the electricity it produces. Again, I don't know what difference that would have made if a big private company would have had it instead. That could have still happened. Medicine Hat would have had the license to charge like at the MCAF fee to make things happen and get some reward on it. But again, it's one of the reasons that people are not trusting our political system anymore when those things happen, and especially when there wasn't enough information around as to why these people changed their mind. It looked like, convenience and easy decision, rather than get us the hard facts and make the right decision. And again, I'm concerned that the 130 million or so into it, half of our savings or part of our savings and the rest of the money borrowing, this thing goes way over budget and hits 6 or 7 or 800 million. What's our taxes going to be?
Yeah, and speaking of taxes, you alluded to it with the Alberta budget, increasing the education property tax. We don't even know what that's going to be yet, but on top of everything else, you told me during the campaign that the number one thing you heard from people on the doorstep was that we might have to sell our house because we can't afford to pay the taxes. Yeah. Now here's another brick on top of that load.
Here's another brick on top of that load, exactly. And how sad that was to hear that people that have been here forever and want to stay here and that kind of thing. It's just another brick that the burden is growing. Especially here in Medicine Hat, where there's a lot of vacant positions, there's a lot of inefficiencies. The last council was hugely in turmoil with the mayor and what happened. And I don't know. I just think that Medicine Hat. Are we the only mid-size Alberta city that hasn't grown? When I was young here and playing hockey and baseball and had the competitive rivalries with Grand Prairie, Lethbridge, and Red Deer, we were all about the same size. Now those have all passed us. So, Brian, I'd say this: Medicine Hat's extra embracing socialism has failed us. Our embracing bigger government through past councils has failed us, and it's time to go the other way: lower taxes, streamline regulation, and give people opportunity.
You've been watching, I'm sure, this council over 4 months now. What's your early observation?
Well, early observation, a lot of the controversy and turmoil seems to have settled down. That gives them an opportunity at least to do something when they're working together and talking. So I hope that will continue. But I would like to see somebody sell the city. We're the best place to live. And one of the things that surprised me when I was 11 years as MLA in Edmonton is the number of people I talked to that 90% said, I've never been to Medicine Hat. And 90% of the 10% that had said, well, I drove through twice. We're such a beautiful, well-kept secret. And the elected people are the ones that need to go sell the city. And then through businesses and what they attract, make that happen. So I hope that starts to happen. But, so that's the good. At least they're not the disruptive force that the last mayor and council were. Are they going to get out the right message? And when you see Florida talking about no property taxes, they don't have income tax either. When you read stuff about how many Canadians can't get into healthcare and are leaving for America, it's time to be different. And, you know, a lot of municipalities in all of Canada have adopted what I call a race to the bottom. If you build something new or you come here, we'll give you free taxes, but just forces the burden on everybody else who's already there. Let's try to do something different. And I would encourage the mayor and council to do that. We
have had a lot of negatives in this conversation. Can you give us some positives as we come to the close? Oh, absolutely. Again, this is the best place to live. You know, it takes a little bit to get involved in things like the theater, the Esplanade, the hockey and stuff. But once you do that, the people are friendly, accommodating, and very, very helpful. Gotta love our weather. I don't have to tell anybody about that. And these recent stats that have come out about us having the most affordable rents, or the second most affordable rents in all Canada, whatever it was, and these lowest incomes we have, that's opportunity for people to come here and set up a business and make things happen. In this world of internet and working from home, it matters less, you know, where you are, and there's opportunity for shipping. So I would say, yeah. You know, Medicine Hat's the best place. Alberta's clearly the best place in Canada. And Canada's a good place to live. But 37% turnout in the last election shows we can't sit on our hands. We have to get involved. We have to find 5 or 10 or 15 minutes a month to get involved in making things happen. And I would encourage everybody, you know, try not to be a spectator. Try to be a participant. Make things happen. And the solution is smaller government, lower taxes, and get out of the way of creative entrepreneurs. Drew Barnes, thank you again for words of wisdom. Brian, thanks for hosting me for a few minutes. Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.